morning, everyone. My name is Karla Mitchell, and I am a breast cancer survivor. And this is just a very exciting time for me because in September, I will have been cancer-free for 5 years, which means that I'll be able to say that I'm cured. So I'm just so excited to be here, and I couldn't have made it without what I call my village, because I say it takes a village to survive breast cancer. I had a breast surgeon, an oncologist, a radiologist, a breast reconstructive surgeon, my family, my friends, strangers, everybody pulled together and helped me get to where I am today, so I'm very grateful. And I saw my oncologist last Thursday for my second to the last quarterly visit, and I thanked her for inviting me here to speak to you. And I asked her, well, what should I talk about? I mean, there's so much that goes on over 5 years when you're battling breast cancer. And she said, just tell them about your journey. And it really spoke to me when she said the word journey, because I feel like my experience really is about a journey. It actually is about a journey I had in Paris, France, and it starts in June of 2006. And that was the time when I actually had fulfilled my dream of living in Paris. And I actually had gone there to earn my MBA at an American school there. And it was time for me to come back to Seattle, where I'm from. And I just felt very optimistic. And, you know, most new graduates always feel optimistic. I just thought I'd come back to the States and I'd find a job, get paid lots of money, and live happily ever after. Well, what happened is I got back to the States, and it took me a lot longer than I expected to find a job. And I was frustrated and broke. And I started to think, maybe going to Paris wasn't such a good idea, even though it was one of my burning desires. And so a year later, I got a job, and I had to relocate here to the Bay Area. And I came here, and it was really a frustrating time because I didn't really know anyone. My job was very stressful. It was they left a lot to be desired on the onboarding front. And they were kind of not really working out my pay very well. They were having a little issues paying me on time. So with all of that, I thought things couldn't get any worse. And then one beautiful August day, it was probably as hot as it is now, beautiful day, I was sitting at home watching TV and I felt a rash on my left breast. And so I went to apply some cortisone cream and I felt a really large lump underneath. And I thought that was really strange because, first of all, I never had a rash on my breast before. And second of all, I had been doing my breast self-exams and I never felt this lump before. And even when I was in Seattle, I had a clinical breast exam, and that was just 4 months prior, and everything was fine. So it felt like the lump just appeared overnight. And so I thought maybe it was a cyst. So I called my mom, and I told her, you know, this is very strange. I found this lump, and she says, well, you know, you do drink a lot of coffee. You know, that's not really good for your breast. Maybe that's what it is. And I said, no, Mom. I drank so much coffee when I was in Paris. I was at cafes every day. It couldn't be coffee. So we decided, you know, you need to go get this checked out and take it seriously. And I thought, I will definitely get it checked out. I wasn't going to let anyone tell me that, you know, watch it for a couple months or you're too young or any of that kind of thing. I was going to go and get it checked out. So after a mammogram, ultrasound, and a biopsy, I found out that I had invasive ductal carcinoma. Stage 2 is what they thought it was, but when they did my mastectomy, they found that the lump was larger than they had thought, and the cancer had spread to 14 out of 24 of my lymph nodes. So that made me stage 3A. And I didn't know what any of that meant, but I'm very thankful for the American Cancer Society because they offer a lot of resources, and one of them is all the information they provide on their website. So I went there and educated myself about my cancer, about what treatment I would be going through, and about how I would recover. And what I found is that for stage 3A breast cancer, only 67% of the people with stage 3A breast cancer live beyond 5 years. And at that time, I didn't know if I would be part of the 67% or the 33%. And so has a way of making you take inventory of your life. And when I did that, my trip to Paris and following my dreams really, I felt like was the best idea I had ever had, because if I was part of the 33%, I wouldn't have any regrets. And so I knew then that I would use my story to encourage people to follow their dreams, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us, whether you have cancer or not. And the other thing I wanted to share is that to do your regular breast self-exam, but don't just do the finger walk over your breast, because my breast cancer, my tumor, I actually couldn't feel it when I did my self-exam, and I wondered, how could I have missed this? But I was able to feel it when I squeezed my breast. And I've heard of stories where women will say, oh, my husband found my lump, because, I mean, they're not running their fingers over your breast. They're, squeezing them, right? So anyway, squeeze, because you just need to make sure nothing strange is going on in there, and you may not feel it. My lump was actually discus shaped, and it was flat, and so it felt like breast tissue or muscle. So I didn't actually catch it. I probably could have caught it sooner had I been squeezing. Okay. Anyway, so my other message is, well, what I learned by going to the webpage is that Black women don't have the highest incidence of breast cancer, but we have a higher mortality rate. So what that means is we're dying more from the disease. And so I want to use my experience to save some breasts and save some lives, because we still are, women of all races are dying to breast cancer. And so we still have a lot of work to do, but I'm here as an example that we are making strides. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Karla, so much. That was very inspiring, and I hope everybody takes her advice and squeeze. I'd now like to recognize all of our breast cancer survivors.